want to start with some of the many unanswered questions about the investigation. You told the Wall Street Journal that it is, quote, very clear to us and to the investigators that this was a person who was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. Can you elaborate on that and be more specific?
Well, sure. So that information comes from the people around him, from his family members and friends. That's how we got that information. Again, there's so much more that we're learning, and so much more that we will learn. There will be official charges will be filed on Tuesday, and there will be much more evidence and information available then. And again, we're interviewing all kinds of people, everyone that knows him, and trying to learn more about what that motive actually was.
Well, some outlets are reporting that the suspect lived with a transgender partner. Is that accurate? And are investigators looking at this part of his life as a possible motivation?
Yes, definitely. And yes, I can confirm that. I know that has been reported, and that the FBI has confirmed that as well, that the roommate was a romantic partner, a male transitioning to female. I can say that he has been very cooperative. This partner has been incredibly cooperative, had no idea that this was happening, and is working with investigators right now.
And how is that relevant to the investigation when it comes to the motive? Are you learning that?
Sure. Well, yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out right now. Again, it's easy to draw conclusions from that, and so we've got the shell casings, other forensic evidence that is coming in, and trying to piece all of those things together.
You said that the roommate is being very helpful. Has that individual explain to law enforcement what the mindset of the shooter was and whether or not it is connected to his ideology or his situation as transitioning, as you just described?
I'm not sure about that piece right now, Dana.
Okay, so we're not sure if the fact that he was romantically involved, as you say, with his partner who was transitioning is relevant to the motive of the murder based on the investigation.
Well, sure. Again, all of these things we're trying to figure it out. I know everybody wants to know exactly why and point the finger, and I totally get that. I do too. And so I just want to be careful, as I haven't read all of the interview transcripts, and so we'll have to wait and see what comes out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We should all be careful. I guess just because that's out there are a lot of people drawing conclusions, and so I'm just trying to get as many facts as we can glean from you, since you have been involved in the investigation. And on that, the social and gaming platform Discord released a statement saying its servers were in no way involved in Tyler Robinson's alleged plot to assassinate Charlie Kirk, but it did say there were, quote, communications between the suspect's roommate and a friend after the shooting, where the roommate was recounting the contents of a note the suspect had left elsewhere. Can you tell us about that note that the shooter left?
So I can't yet. Again, those are things that are still being processed for accuracy and verification, and will be included in charging documents.
Okay, so but the note was found, or the content of the note is known by law enforcement?
Again, I can't share any specifics. They're looking at everything right now.
Understood. I just want to go back to my first question about what you told the Wall Street Journal about that this is a person indoctrinated with leftist ideology. And the reason why I think it would be great to be more specific is because your goal of trying to lower the temperature, you said that this is based on investigation and interviews with people who knew him. Did they just use the term leftist ideology, or did they give specifics?
Yeah, there are conversations that were discussed, specifically about Charlie Kirk, other conversations about the direction that this was going. And look, My job is just to tell people I really don't have a dog in this fight. If this was MAGA and a radicalized MAGA person, I would be saying that as well. If the Friends were saying that, I would be sharing that as well. That's not what they're sharing. And so I do think it is important, again, to understand how someone gets radicalized like this. And in this case, it happened. As much as people wish it wasn't or don't want it to be this, these are the facts that are being presented to us. If there are additional facts that would point otherwise, but family discussions, parents, this is what they're saying, and these things happen. And so it's okay to have these discussions.
Listen, absolutely, and I'm just trying to get more facts, more details of the facts that you're putting out there. One last question on that. You just said right now, which is something that you mentioned on Friday, is that he had discussions with family members about Charlie Kirk. Do you have specifics on what he was saying about Charlie Kirk to his family?
Just not a fan. That's all I can say.
Okay, not a specific reason why. Let me turn to FBI Director Kash Patel and something he said yesterday. Governor, he said, against all law enforcement recommendations, we demanded the video footage and enhanced stills of the suspect be released to the public. Who was recommending against releasing that video? Was it Utah law enforcement?
No, again, this was just an internal discussion that was happening between everyone. We certainly never recommended against that. I just want everyone to know how all of this came together. This was a co-lead operation. So the FBI was co-lead with the state. We worked very closely together. I think Director Patel would tell you it was flawless. The cooperation between the feds and the state and the locals. I know there was a discussion, and it wasn't, the state versus the feds or the locals versus the feds. It was the feds and the locals and the state versus the feds and the locals and the state. It was everybody just trying to decide, is this a good idea? The reasons to release it, I think, are pretty obvious, right? It makes it easier for lots of people to see it and maybe find someone. The reasons not to is you immediately get 10,000 tips and 50 different leads, and you have to chase all of them down. So that's the discussion, nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay. McKay Coppins from The Atlantic is reporting that President Trump called you after your remarks on Friday, and that the president told you, quote, the type of person who would do something like that to Charlie Kirk would love to do it to us. What was your response to the president in that conversation?
Well, it was a long conversation, by the way. We talked about lots of things, but it was very sobering. And again, he's not wrong. I mean, as he knows better than anyone, as someone who literally was injured by a bullet, a fraction of an inch away from being killed a year ago. He understands that better than anyone. I would also just note that he also mentioned multiple times that he was grateful for the press conference and the message that we shared. And so I'm grateful, that he's talked about nonviolence. He's quoted Charlie Kirk on the nonviolence issue. I understand he's also very angry, and I get that. This is his close personal friend, and anger is a normal reaction.
So he was grateful for the press conference. Others in his orbit, Governor, were not. Steve Bannon talked about you calling to tone down the rhetoric, saying Spencer Cox is a national embarrassment in a time where we need action. He tells us to sing Kumbaya and hold hands with Antifa. This is not a time for pontificating. This is a time to declare Antifa a domestic terrorist organization and have the FBI go kick down some doors. What's your response to Steve Bannon?
Well, again, Mr. Bannon is angry, and rightfully so. And I'm not saying we have to just sing Kumbaya and hold hands. What I'm saying is we actually should disagree. I think Charlie represented that better than anyone. Charlie said some very inflammatory things, and in some corners of the web, that's all people have heard. But he also said some other things about forgiveness. He said some amazing things about when things get dark, putting down our phones, reading scripture, going to church, talking to our neighbors. He said that we have to engage, and that's what I appreciate most about Charlie Kirk. Said if we don't keep talking, that's when the violence starts. Look, there are conflict entrepreneurs out there who benefit from radicalizing us, and I'm not one of those. I don't know that that's particularly helpful, but he is right at this. We need to find out how this happened, and we need to stop it from happening.
You called social media a cancer on our society. I know you have made talking about social media one of your key issues as governor of Utah. What should or even can government do to cure this cancer, as you call it?
Well, there's some things that we're working on for sure. We have to get phones out of the classroom. We're doing that in Utah. Many states are doing that right now. We have to hold the largest companies in the history of the world with combined $1 trillion market caps. We have to hold them responsible for the algorithms that are pushing us. Again, they're hijacking our agency. They're hijacking our free will with these dopamine hits. Same chemical reaction as fentanyl, getting us addicted to these platforms, and outrage releases a dopamine hit for sure. And they are taking no responsibility for this. In fact, they're suing the state of Utah to stop the most comprehensive social media reforms in the world's history. They're happening right here, and we absolutely have to hold them accountable.
Just real quick, you have said that we're in a dark chapter, and you're not sure if it's the end of a dark chapter or beginning of a darker one. Is your view of America right now shaken?
Yeah, I mean, if your view of America is not shaken right now, then there's something wrong with you. This is a direct assault on America, a direct assault on every single one of us. Of course, it's an assault on Charlie, and we love Erica and her kids and his family. But this is us, and this is our chance. This is our moment. We've had periods like this in the past. I mentioned the late '60s and early '70s. But if we're waiting for a president or a governor to get us out of this dark chapter, then it will never happen. We can't, I don't understand this, again, giving our agency up, waking up every day and saying, well, what did the president say today? That's going to determine how I react. Or what does the governor say today? That makes no sense to me. Every one of us has to look in the mirror and decide, are we going to try to make it better, or are we going to make it worse? And I pray that God will help us find him again and find our souls and find each other again.
Governor Spencer Cox, Republican Utah, addressed the ongoing investigation into Tyler Robinson, the suspect in the shooting of Charlie Kirk. He shared that, based on information from those close to Robinson, it was clear that he had been deeply influenced by leftist ideology. This conclusion emerged from interviews with the suspect's family and friends, although Cox emphasized that the investigation was ongoing and more details would be revealed as it progressed. Robinson's ideology, and how it may have contributed to his actions, remained a key focus for authorities as they continued their investigation. The governor also confirmed that Robinson had been living with a transgender partner, a male transitioning to female. This partner had been fully cooperative with law enforcement and had no prior knowledge of Robinson's intentions. The roommate's involvement, along with the suspect's relationship, was being carefully examined as part of the investigation to determine whether there was any connection to the motive for the attack. However, Cox noted that the exact relevance of this relationship to the motive was still unclear, with investigators piecing together forensic evidence and other details. Regarding the release of certain evidence, Cox confirmed that a note had been left by the suspect, but he refrained from providing details about its contents. Investigators were still processing the note for accuracy and verification, and the contents would eventually be included in the official charging documents. He further acknowledged that while the public and media were eager to understand the motive, law enforcement was being cautious not to jump to conclusions. Cox also discussed the release of video footage related to the investigation, revealing that there had been internal debate within law enforcement about whether to make the footage public. While some believed that releasing the video could generate valuable tips, others warned that it could result in an overwhelming number of false leads. In the end, the decision to release the footage was made collaboratively between state, local, and federal authorities. The conversation also turned to a call from President Trump, who expressed concern that someone capable of targeting Kirk could pose a threat to others. The governor confirmed that Trump had been grateful for his public statements advocating for nonviolence, though others in Trump's orbit, like Steve Bannon, criticized Cox for calling for unity and understanding. Bannon expressed frustration, arguing that the focus should be on declaring groups like Antifa as domestic terrorists and taking stronger actions to combat them. Cox also addressed his ongoing concerns about the role of social media in fueling division and radicalization. He described social media as a cancer on society, arguing that the platform's algorithms manipulate users, particularly through the release of dopamine, much like the addictive effects of drugs. He advocated for holding tech companies accountable for their role in fostering outrage and division, particularly in light of recent events. In closing, Cox reflected on the current state of America, acknowledging the challenges facing the nation and the deep divides that had emerged. He stressed the importance of individuals taking responsibility for improving the situation, instead of waiting for leaders to provide the solution. He hoped that Americans could find a way to reconnect with each other and work toward a more unified future, drawing on the lessons of the past.